Okay, folks are streaming on in, so if you want to play a song right now, as we give folks time to trickle on in, feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Say who you are, where you are in the world, and how you're feeling today.
Uh-oh. It's doing that thing that it did yesterday. It's sort of, it's saying that my, what am I trying to say? That the Zoom is not responding.
Oh no.
So I might have to get off of this and then go on my phone.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you my presentation link just in case, okay?
Okay.
So let me do that.
Rosie, I can pull her presentation up.
Oh, perfect. I also realized that I'm on my Xfinity and not my actual, which is a weaker connection. So I might have to switch over to that one. But I don't want to interrupt the stream. We'll see where it goes. We'll see how this does. We've got folks from California, Ohio, California. Cali's in the house. New York, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Aurora. Shout out to Aurora, Brooklyn, Canada, International A. Uh-oh, Amanda's frozen. Oh, there, Amanda is again.
Hi.
Hello, let me see if I can make this one.
Can you see me, hear me?
Yeah, you're frozen on the other screen though. Oh, I got this.
I'm just gonna send you my presentation. If you can just control it for me, that would be great. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so Key is gonna be the one doing that.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so are you ready to go ahead and get started in like 30 seconds, Amanda, as I do introductions, or do you want a minute?
You can start, that's fine.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to see so many of you strolling on in for day 3 of our symposium and our pre-symposium self-care session. Today, we are going to be blessed with Amanda in the corner, or I don't know if you can see it on your screen, actually, if it's in PowerPoint mode. In the chat, can you see all 3 videos on the screen or no? No.
It's just you, Ozzy, and the presentation.
Just me? Oh no.
It's you and the presentation.
Okay, let me switch to, okay, we'll figure that out, but we do have Elijah doing ASL interpretation for us. And so I will figure out how to make sure that we can see both Elijah and Amanda and not me. But in the meantime, I will let Amanda introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. Can you go to the next slide, please? Welcome, everyone. My name is Amanda Marie Leftwich. I am the founder of Mindful LIS, which focuses on mindful tips and practices in librarianship. And I'm the co-creator of Live Voices, a podcast amplifying by POC librarians, archivists, and library workers. I also teach a course with Library Juice Press, focusing on wellness for BIPOC librarians and library workers. My next session starts in September of 2020. Next slide, please. Great. So we are going to do a breathing exercise together. I would invite you to get comfortable or find a comfortable seated position, and we are going to meditate for 5 minutes. So find a comfortable position. Allow the eyes to softly close, or you can keep a soft gaze. Whatever is comfortable to you in this moment, please do. Begin to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. Breathe as you normally would. You've been breathing your whole life. You don't need me to tell you how to breathe. We like to think of mindfulness as a Zen thing, a way to clear our thoughts. But if your mind is clear of thoughts, you are mindless and not mindful. Mindfulness is bringing your awareness to the present moment, the right here, the right now. Lean into it. It is not easy to be aware, but in this space, right now, we can try together, focusing only on our breath. Keep breathing. Your breath in this moment belongs to you. In every moment, it belongs to you. You are always allowed to come back to it. Remember that. Slowly bring your awareness back to my voice or back to Elijah's hands, gently. When you feel comfortable, if your eyes were closed, slowly open them. Start to wiggle the body, the fingers, the toes, any part of your body that needs movement. Take a moment to land and welcome home. So I'll slowly allow you to come back. Get a glass of water if you need, or move around, whatever you need to do. Okay. So we can go to the next slide now. Okay. So what is self-care? Self-care are activities or are deliberate acts. Unfortunately, self-care has taken a capitalistic view. So for example, buy this to feel better. However, we know that the roots of self-care are based on individual needs. Next slide, please. So why do we practice self-care? Especially for BIPOC, we practice self-care because of the barriers we face if we don't. So for example, 89% of BIPOC report covert acts of racism as a contributing factor to their lack of mental health in the workplace. Again, this is covert, so this is people reporting instances. They are not sure what is going on, but they feel that something is happening. Okay. Katrina Davis Kendrick studied low morale in libraries, and the results showed that these trigger events, these bullying or harassment type events, contributed to a lack of wellness. Low morale stays with you no matter where you go, which makes it more insidious and dangerous. So if you leave a workplace where you have suffered low morale, that low morale goes with you no matter where you go, until you start to deal and heal from those wounds that you suffered at that workplace. The next thing to remember about why we should practice self-care is the emotional tax. So the price that you pay for being the only Black, Indigenous person of color in the workplace. If you've dealt with emotional tax, you'll have problems usually sleeping. So if you're dealing with any of these things, self-care is vital for you to thrive in the workplace. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Next slide, please. So there are also levels to self-care, right? So the one that we are most aware of is that outward spending, right? So we're spending money for ourselves to feel better. Of course, this is fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't spend money, but this is a short-term solution to a problem that we may have, right? So think about going more inward, focusing on reflection, on meditation, learning what your triggers are when you're stressed, how you can deal with those in order to be well. You can also focus on community care, right? Community care is necessary in order for us all to thrive. So reach out to groups like We Here, the ethnic affiliates, build communities of practice for yourself and for others at your institution or virtually. Next slide. So some ideas that you could try, you could unplug, set some boundaries, some hard boundaries, saying no, keeping time management. These are also called self-preservation tools. Reflect on your needs and wants and ask for help from those you trust. This could be from your family, from a therapist if you find one that you really like, a trusted colleague. Try to reach out for your care. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to give you a few minutes to practice. You can name one self-care activity that you can cultivate over this next week. So I will give you a minute to think about that. Okay, great. I'm going to go to the next slide. So why should we rest? We rest because rest is resistance, and resting as Black, Indigenous, and people of color puts ourselves first and breaks down grind narrative cultures and reimagine what it means to slow down and to really take care of ourselves. Next slide. So why do we rest? We rest because vocational all it exists in libraries, especially. Vocational all is a term coined by Borazi Ettar. It says that if the library is beyond critique, then we're setting that practices in the library, not taking breaks, not going on vacation, gatekeeping, any abuse that we may have faced is okay. And we know that that is not okay and should not be acceptable. So we have to critique the library and its practices in order to make effective change. Grind culture is, you keep going no matter what, you sleep when you die, work hard, play harder type of narrative. But we know that that also is not a good thing. You have to rest. You can't do all of the things and be, a superhero trying to help students or your patrons or your community. So grind culture is a no for me. I rest as much as possible, and you should as well, if you can. And our third point is resistance framework. So the NAP ministry talks about this a lot on her Instagram page and Twitter page and her website, right? So the NAP ministry uses rest as a vehicle to resist grind culture and white supremacy ideals on BIPOC. We cannot heal if we cannot rest. Next slide. So there are some levels to rest, right? So we need to end the shame and guilt around taking our breaks, around resting. Remind people that minding their business is free 99. So if someone says, oh, you rest too much or you should be doing more, tell them to mind their business. Your rest practice is your own, and whatever you need to rest is what you need. No one else needs to comment on it. Allow yourself some time to grieve, especially during the pandemic, right? Which we are still in a pandemic. Allow yourself to grieve what you have lost, your travel plans, outreach activities that you may have planned that you can't host anymore. You may have lost your job, unfortunately. You may be furloughed. You may have lost contact with your friends, any sense of normalcy or human interaction, right? It's okay not to be okay. And it's okay not to know what you need in this moment except to rest. That's more than okay. We also want to welcome gentleness and stillness during this time, right? Again, pandemic. We're in the pandemic for the foreseeable future. We need to allow ourselves as much grace as we would give other people, as much grace as we would give our students, our patrons, our community. We need to put that inward. Next slide, please. So again, these are just some ideas that you could do. Mainly, you really just want to rest. You want to make sure that you take frequent breaks, even if you're working from home. Just because you're working from home doesn't mean that you shouldn't take a break, okay? Take your sick personal and vacation days when you can. Take naps. Welcome stillness when you can. It's okay not to have anything to do. It's okay not to have anything on your schedule, for example. So I want us to practice together. It may seem a little weird during your presentation to stop, but, oh, next slide, I'm sorry. Thank you. So it might seem a little strange to take a break in the middle of a presentation, but I want us to start practicing slowing down. So I'm going to give you a few minutes, get comfortable. You can close your eyes if you need to, but we're just going to rest for a few minutes. Gently bring your awareness back whenever you're ready. We're going to go to the next slide. So what is reflective practice, right? Reflective practice is connecting our awareness to the present moment. So when we reflect, we practice non-judgment and we look to see patterns within ourselves. We may ask ourselves some questions like, what do we notice? Why do these patterns occur? We aren't necessarily trying to fix anything, but we're asking the whys and the hows. Next slide. So again, we're trying to bring our awareness back to the present moment, right? It takes a lot of attention and practice, but keep trying to bring your awareness to the present. And when you do, you focus on the things in front of you and not necessarily things behind you or to the sides of you. It doesn't mean that you have tunnel vision. It just means you're choosing what to focus on in a very deliberate way, right? Again, non-judgment here. If you're practicing mindfulness, then you are practicing non-judgment with yourself and with others, okay? And also to be less reactive to things. The more we reflect, the more we grow. We aren't trying to mold ourselves into something new. We aren't trying to be gurus here. We're just trying to bring our awareness back to the present moment, and we're trying to accept ourselves, flaws and all. Next slide, please. So the reflective level here is just to write. Just start writing. There's nothing else to do here. Next slide. So you might want to purchase a journal that you can write in. It doesn't have to be fancy, but if you want it to be fancy, treat yourself. And just start writing and describe in detail what's happening around you. What do you notice? What do you see? Again, with non-judgment. Next slide. So take a moment and reflect on one thing you'd like to take away from this symposium. Good. So next slide. So you can think about that. Great. So from the great Queen Audre Lorde, my favorite quote from her is, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and it is an act of political warfare. You deserve more. You matter more than you work. You deserve to be in this profession and to be here on this earth at this time, and you are deserving of rest and self-care. Next slide. That's all I have. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. We have enough time. I also have my references in the last 3 slides if you need it. Thank you so much for having me. Please go gently into your day. No rushing. Take care. Take some breaks. Take some naps.
I am echoing what everyone is saying in the chat. Thank you for that, and thank you for that reminder. Especially shout out to Trisha Hersey with the NAP Ministry. She came to Denver twice, and I was able to do some classes with her. And in one of her classes, she talks about this idea that really all you need is 15 minutes. If you grant yourself 15 minutes of rest, at minimum, you are a more productive person. And that doesn't mean productive for your employer or for whoever, but like it helps maintain your balance in your body. It makes your production within yourself better, right? And that 15 minutes doesn't mean like just sleeping. It can be daydreaming. It can just be sitting.
Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful. So thank you for that reminder.
A lot of people, I noticed they're doing the sound bowls for 15 minutes. You know, you're just listening to the sound bowls and closing your eyes, or they're doing Reiki for 15 minutes, or, you know, doing the five things you see in the room. It's whatever you want it to be. Mm-hmm. But just make sure that you're taking that time away from, especially since we're on the screen so much for work now, or work from home, take a few minutes to close your eyes if you can.
Exactly, exactly. Especially, and the Reiki and the sound healing is really amazing because we are energetic beings, and if we don't take care of our energy within ourselves, then what happens? It doesn't become good energy automatically, right? So things
Yeah.
that can tap into that really subconscious work is just important, and resting can definitely help reset that and do all of those things. So thank you for reminding us about all of that. Thank you, Elijah, for signing up here, or signing up there. I'm looking up at my screen.
Yes, I'll be down for me. Thank you, Elijah. This is great.
And thank you to all of you who showed up for today's session, for showing up for yourself and making the choice to really start your day with intention. We are looking forward to a beautiful rest of the day, a beautiful closeout to our symposium. We'll be moving into our next session at 10:45. I do want to keep plugging throughout the day. I'll be saying this at the end of the symposium during the virtual happy hour this evening. We will be having a band called the Black Excellence Band, and they're going to be doing an amazing performance. So please, please, please make sure that you tune in for that. At the very least, make sure you tune in for our closing. We'll have a really dope poet named Susie Q. Smith, and just tune in for all of the sessions today, really. But at the very least, tune in for those two. I love you too, Nagam. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and I'll go ahead and close this out. Thank you again, Amanda, and thank you, Elijah.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.